What?
We're over there. We're not over here.
Hold on. I'll try again. There we go.
Hi.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Nick.
Bloop. Bloop. All right. Okay. So, are we centered? Looks good enough.
I guess.
As long as they can hear us. We're going to have to...
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's not where it's supposed to be.
I kept falling off.
Yeah,
so.
I know.
Okay.
All right. Well, hold on. Oh, we're going to do the thing.
What thing? Oh.
Yeah. It'll help me out. See, I do a lot of editing. Like, this isn't... A lot of this at the beginning doesn't actually make, like, the show in, like, podcast form or when I edit it and put it on YouTube or any... Like, put the actual recording on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So, editing is, tricky. This is just for the people who catch us live. Can you hear us?
So it's for Nick.
It's basically Nick. It's basically just for Nick. How do we sound? Actually, I could probably just... Oh, we sound good.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to do the intro. Hi, introduce ourselves. Hi, and then introduce ourselves.
Okay.
You ready?
Are we going to have to do that every time?
Every time.
All right.
It's a show.
Okay.
Thanks.
Oh, we sound good. Okay.
You ready?
Uh-huh.
Where is it? There. Okay. Hi. Welcome to Themes to Be Seen. My name is Matt Klaus.
I'm Tara Caustic.
And we are a show that talks about movies, symbolism, the underlying messages, and now some other things, like we're going to start today.
Mm-hmm.
Working on the show this week has been a bit hectic, and it's going to be even harder next week because I'm going to be working a ton. But we have some pretty cool stuff to talk about. We have some pretty cool content today.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah. So what are our new segments that we will be doing?
Well, our two new segments are... Oh, what did you... Seen Again. Well, we had two names for them, and I always get them mixed up. Okay, Seen Again.
I forgot already. We have Seen Again, which is like our new retrospective movies that we used to love when we were younger, and you might have loved too, and we rewatch them and see if they have the same value or see how they hold up over time. And then we have Themes to Be Heard, our new music video segment where we just discuss kind of more cinematic music videos that go beyond like just the
it's not
song.
they're not just like performance pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Like music videos that actually have something going on in the background.
Yeah. And a lot of there's a lot of movie directors now that actually started making music videos, so we'll kind of go into those as well.
You're gonna hear the same names over and over. One name in particular, but I don't think for this one. Did we even look up who directed? You did, right?
I didn't write it down. I didn't write anything down for this
I took
week's.
so many notes for this week.
I have it memorized pretty much.
Well, the video?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. No, I just mean like the director.
Her name... So the video we're talking about this week is Silversun Pickups Lazy Eye. I believe the director's name was Christine. I don't remember.
I got the Googs right in front of me. And then on our Seen Again segment today, it's a movie that I watched when I was a little kid, before I realized what like derivative films were, before I realized what films that were kind of acting like other films were.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that there was like a genre. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I like this movie just as much as I like the movies that it is attempting to be, because it is just as fun. And that is The Last Starfighter.
Yeah.
I love The Last Starfighter.
So what do you want to talk about first?
I think we're going to talk about The Last Starfighter first.
Okay. All right. So yeah, this is a movie that was more from your childhood. I don't remember watching it as a kid, although seeing it now, it kind of surprises me because I feel like me and my siblings would have loved this. I think we found it somewhere and you were so excited.
We were walking through Walmart and it was in the $5 bin.
Yeah, and you were so excited and I had never heard of it.
I literally picked it up and I looked at her and I went, "It's The Last Starfighter!" And she went, "What is that?" Like she thought it sounded so. When I explained it to her, she thought it sounded so dumb. And I was like, "It's The Last Starfighter!"
It came out the year that I was born. It came out in 1984, and it was actually directed by Nick Castle, who was the Shape in the original Halloween. He directed a few movies of his own, and you can definitely tell John Carpenter's influence on his directing style. It's a really well-made movie, and I first saw it for the first time I think last year, and I loved it immediately. It makes you feel good about life. It's a feel-good movie that just makes you feel nostalgic. It has surprisingly good acting performances for the type
really
of
good
movie
acting
that it is. I believe at the time it came out, Gene Siskel called it the best Star Wars ripoff that there could be.
And that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
This movie does. Just to our audience in particular, anybody who watches our videos, you probably watch movies and go, "You know what this movie should have done? You know, it would have been better if this would have happened. I kind of wish this would have happened." This movie does all those things that you just wish it would have done, and it did. You don't have to worry about that with this.
Yeah. And it has a really good cast. It's
Fantastic
really surprising that I had never heard of this movie because I instantly recognized the actors in it. Like, you have Lance Guest. He's the main actor. He plays Alex. He was Jimmy in Halloween Part 2, which is probably how he, was introduced to Nick Castle. And he was also in Jaws the Revenge. And that was a movie I remember watching a lot. But he played the oldest Brady son in that one.
Is that the really, really bad one? Is that the one everybody hates?
Yeah, the one Michael Caine purchased a house with. With the money.
The movie is atrocious, but the house that
so
it bought
bad.
is beautiful.
And then we have Catherine Mary Stewart as his love interest Maggie.
Who was all over the 80s.
A movie I loved growing up was Night of the Comet.
So good.
And she was in that. She was in this really bizarre movie called The Apple.
Oh!
From the early 80s.
Oh, she was in The Apple.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
I forgot about that.
She just would kind of pop up. She was in Weekend at Bernie's.
She was a character actress.
Yeah.
And she would just pop up in places that you were like, "Oh, cool."
Yeah.
And she never gave bad performances. She was always, I mean, especially like a movie like Night of the Comet, where she's the lead, and you always are invested in her as a lead.
Yeah, and those films came out around the same time, and it's kind of funny because in Night of the Comet, her character loves video games, and then The Last Starfighter is based around a video game.
Yeah, the whole story revolves around this video game.
And then we have, there's a lot of classic actors in this as well. There's Robert Preston. He plays Centauri. Centauri is the guy that basically, okay, we should probably start with what it's about.
Wait, first and foremost, can we talk about this theme? Like the music, the music.
Yeah.
You can say it's Star Wars derivative, but it's just good enough on its own that you would not be like, oh, it's just the Star Wars theme.
It's very exciting the whole time.
It's super epic.
The composer was Craig Saffin. He did the music for Angel, which we watched recently on Joe Bob.
Avenging Angel. Schoolgirl
movies
by day,
like
Prostitute
Stand and Deliver. I forget the other big one that he's known for. Oh, he did the music for Fade to Black.
That movie. Okay. You gotta really have a love for black and white film to like Fade to Black, though. There were parts of Fade to Black where I was like,
There's a lot about that movie I like, but then
the music,
last half of it, I'm like, wait, how did he afford to rent out this big? But that's a different film entirely.
That's another episode.
But yeah, this was Robert Preston's final theatrical role. He was in movies like The Music Man.
He was the Music Man.
Yeah, the Lucille Ball version of Mame. Just a lot of stuff. And, Greg?
Yes.
I forget that actor's name. He's an Irish actor, but he was also in a lot of...
Well, and one of the big things these two... And they're older. They're both older in this film. One of the things they bring are these really cool voices. They both have these very interesting voices.
Yeah.
And anytime they're on screen, you're excited to hear them give a line. Especially, what's his name? Preston. He gives these really cool, he's this shucking and jiving, I don't even know how to explain him. He's like a hustler, and he's trying to make money on recruiting people to the Starfighters Legion. Oh, you want me to set up the thing, huh?
What thing? Oh yeah, we have
we got pictures
and stuff. But yeah, basically it's a very simple plot. There's this community, it's a trailer park community, and there's a store that's a part of it, and Alex, the main character, he really he wants to go away to college, and he's looking to get out of the trailer park, and wants something more for his life. But there is an arcade game called The Last Starfighter there, and he loves to play it, in between helping all the residents with their electricity or other maintenance stuff that they need. He's playing this game, and hi.
Hello, sir.
Here. So he beats the record score on the game, and
let's see if this works.
Yeah, let's see. You might need to
resize it a little bit.
That's good. What? That's the villain Zur, who that actor did a lot too. He was in Manhunter. He was one of the agents. But yeah, that picture there, that is Alex and Greg, and there's the game that he plays.
It's called Starfighter.
Yeah. But basically, he beats the record score of the game, and then this Centauri comes from outer space to recruit him to join their
Legion. It's called the Starfighter Legion.
Yeah.
And when he gets in, he introduces him to his friend Beta, and he shakes his hand. And there's this, and one of the things about this movie are you can tell it had almost no money, but some of the effects are really, really cool. Like all the makeups and all the prosthetics, and especially this beta unit, he goes to shake his hand, and like when he touches him, sparks fly, and you're like, what is that? And here's
that's
Alex and Beta.
So yeah, if I had seen this when I was really little, I think parts of it might have freaked me out a little bit.
It has some darker, like...
Because when Beta is transforming into Alex beneath the bed covers and the face is all, like...
gelatinous.
Melting. Yeah. That was kind of
Oh,
freaky.
we didn't talk about the very first shot of the movie. The very first
the
thing...
bloodhound.
There is like 5 or 6 shots in this movie of this bloodhound who is just the best dog. He's sleeping on his back.
I did try to find an image of it, but I couldn't.
He's just sleeping on his back, or like there's shots of them feeding him. But this bloodhound is all over this movie.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't catch the character's name that owns the store, but he's like a positive force in Alex's life. Like he tells him that change is bound to come, and that when he gets an opportunity to seize it with both hands. And then, like, when Alex first, like, sees him, he's like, it's gonna be a sparkling day.
Yeah, just sterling.
It's just, I don't know, everything about this movie it makes me feel good when I watch it.
There's some gory moments. And it's cool because there's some moments
that this moment here probably would have freaked me out.
Lewis, you're having a nightmare. Go back to sleep. And, like, the beta unit, the cool thing that, what's the actor's name? Plays Alex?
Lance Guest.
Lance Guest.
Which, okay, so the main actor's name is Lance, and then the guy that did, like, all the makeup and prosthetics and stuff, his name was also Lance. And I feel like our friend Lance would probably want to watch this movie now.
Yeah.
But... I just forgot what I was gonna say.
About what?
I don't know. I just forgot. What were you talking about?
Oh, the trailer park in particular is this really it's a trailer park, but it's also depicted as this like super close-knit community.
Mm-hmm.
They all look out for each other.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like park manager. Like, they help each other do things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all based around this little, like, store, like a general store.
Yeah.
And so it's not... There's parts of this... Wow, this is going to sound really dumb. There's parts of the human aspect of this that are not based in reality.
Mm-hmm.
The trailer park itself is based in this, like, idyllic setting.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas then you go out into the space part, which is usually the part of the movie that is idyllic, and it's less than. Once we get out into space, we start talking about death cults, and how even the quote-unquote good races of aliens just want to fight.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we?
Oh yeah, what I was gonna say earlier, Will Wheaton actually filmed some scenes for this. He was the younger brother. His name is Lewis. They shot some scenes with Will Wheaton playing his friend, but ultimately all of his scenes were scrapped.
The actor's name is Vernon Washington as Otis, is who you're thinking of.
Otis?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. But yeah, so you have the whole, like, outer space aspect, and all of those effects still look so good. This was one of the earliest movies to, like, fully embody CG. And this and Tron were the earliest, and this one clearly looks way better than
this
Tron.
One, okay, and that's one of the things is that, like, one of the reasons Tron is so famous is because it's so early in using CG so fully in the film. This one looks so much better. Like, the scenes of the ship actually in outer space.
Yeah.
And one of the things that it does is it shows a contrast. It shows what the video game looks like that he's playing. Like, you see him playing the video game every now and then, and then it shows what it looks like when he's actually in the ship doing the exact same thing. And there's I think they did that so that there was that contrast of a distinct difference.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look, I'm not saying it looks great. I'm not saying it's a Star Wars movie, like a new one. I'm saying for the time, it looks way better than you think it would.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I believe the budget on this was like $15 million, and it was shot in 38 days, mostly
So, like,
night shoots.
So, like, nothing. 38 days is no time.
Yeah. There was a novelization. There were a few video games that were supposed to come out, and some did under different titles. But we'll get into that later. There was an off-Broadway musical. Like,
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, we'll have to look into it.
We gotta
more.
find that. Okay, if we
there
find that.
There was a comic book made.
If we find that, we're showing it on the channel.
Yeah. And as of October of 2020, there is a script for a sequel in the works, and the original producers, I guess, have recaptured the rights to the film because they have been wanting to make a sequel for a very long time.
Well, if you want to see 130 mid-30s grown men crying in a theater, go see the Last Starfighter sequel.
But yeah, it's a very exciting movie. You have like the space stuff, and then you've got the stuff on Earth with Beta. So originally, in test screenings, Beta, which is the second version of Alex, those scenes did really well. So they decided to incorporate more of them in the film. But after filming this, the main actor, Lance Guest, had cut off his hair super short, and he had also gotten an illness. So when they did the reshoots for Beta, like, he was wearing a wig, and it's really obvious in
it's a
one
bad
scene.
Wig.
And wearing, like, a lot of makeup.
And not just, like, makeup as in, like, make him look a little better. It's almost like latex to make it... It's a really thick
like, you
layer.
don't really... It looks okay until the scene where they're riding in the back of the truck with the friends, and then he's just being really goofy in general because he's not human.
Right, he's not actually Alex.
But all of those scenes are
But here's the thing.
Very entertaining.
The serendipitous thing about all that is even with the bad wig and the makeup, it makes sense because it's not actually him.
Yeah, so it works.
It works
in a weird way, and it makes that scene even funnier where he's like laughing, like he doesn't know how to laugh. So he's forcing it.
And before he even goes to space, they do really cool small things to show how predictable his life is and how mundane it's gotten and how he wants so much more. Like, he's sitting in his bedroom with his back to the wall, and there's people talking right outside his bedroom, and he's mouthing exactly what he knows they're going to say. And it's so spot on that you're like, oh man. And he's doing it in this way, he's like, oh my god, and you feel for him, like...
Yeah, because he desperately wants to leave and go off to school, and he's applied for a loan to be able to go away to school, and he wants to go away and find a place for him and Maggie because he eventually wants to bring Maggie with him so she can leave the town as well, but his loan gets denied, and so
he gets into like you hear early on that he got into state college.
Yeah, he
can't
afford it. So his loan gets denied, and he's just feeling like that's it. He's just gonna be there
stuck in this
forever.
trailer park forever.
Yeah.
And can we talk when him and Maggie, we really like show the relationship between him and Maggie, that first scene. And they give each other this really sweet kiss. The little brother, Lewis, is actually like an awesome 80s little brother. He's looking out the window and he gives this, diarrhea. Great line. So he gets pissed off. His mom gives him the letter of the loan denial, and he gets pissed off, and he uses this game as an escape. And they show him multiple times getting pissed off, and just to get away, he just goes and plays that game because the general store is up a hill from the rest of the park, and he just starts playing it. Well, then when Otis catches up to him, he's been zoned out playing the game for so long, he's about to beat the game. Like, in more modern terms, we would say he's about to beat the whole game. Mm-hmm. But in the movie, they keep talking about he's about to break the record. He's breaking the point record, which 80s video game movies were obsessed with points. So he's about to break the point record. And, like, you get the idea that the whole park kinda every once in a while will throw a quarter in and just play. Like, everybody kinda plays it casually. But he's about to beat the game, so everybody comes up and they're so happy for him. And then he beats it. And they're all like, yay, there's a little celebration, but it's like a short-lived, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And then right after he beats it, everybody goes back down the hill, and this is where we get Centauri and Beta. And there are a couple... Centauri, right off the bat, gives some great lines. Like, every line he delivers is so much fun, and it's given with this energy, and you can tell that for some reason, this classical black and white actor is so invested in this movie.
Actually, the role was written specifically with Robert Preston in mind.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
It worked so well.
Yeah. So yeah, the movie, when it came out, there was supposed to be, an Atari game, and, there's actually an Atari game that's promised in the end credits, and it was never released because, some Atari representatives, when the film was in, like, post-production, they went to go view the movie because they were going to start, like, working on the game, and they saw the movie, and they were like, this isn't going to be financially successful, so...
Which is ironic, because this is right before the E.T. incident. This is...
The E.T. incident?
You don't know about the E.T. incident?
No, E.T. came out 2 years before this one.
No, that's the video game incident.
Oh, I have no idea.
All right, so... Get ready for a tangent, everybody. The way Atari video games were made is that any third company could make a video game as long as they had the licensing rights to what they were making the game of. Well, that means that any company with any kind of money could just license the rights to somebody and put out whatever trash game that they made. Well, if you have watched any Angry Video Game Nerd, you probably are aware that the company JLN got the rights to make E.T., and it was years after the movie came out. And they mass-produced hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of this cartridge of this video game that was trash. It was completely unplayable, but it said E.T., so it sold everywhere. Well, when people got it home and played it, they complained. And they didn't complain to JLN, they complained to Atari. So, what ended up happening, LJN. Well, I don't know why I keep saying JLN, but LJN. They complained to Atari. And eventually, like, stores threw it all away. They sent it all back to the Atari company, and they dug a hole in the middle of the desert in Nevada. Not a landfill. They didn't throw it away. They dug a mine in the middle of the desert and just dropped all these E.T. games in there and covered it up and left them there. They were just dug back up like a year ago, 2 years ago.
Oh, jeez.
So, that may have contributed to us not getting a Starfighter game, which is bullshit.
There was a home computer game that was
we're gonna have
released.
To find
that. It was called Star Raiders 2.
Oh, so they couldn't get the licensing rights to the movie.
Nick said they made so many copies that every Atari owner would need to buy 3 copies to make it profitable.
See?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had never heard of that before.
It's insane. There are so many documentaries. We'll have to watch a documentary about it. But when, in the movie, when you first see, the first CG thing you see is the star car. and it takes off and it drives off of a bridge, and it looks like it's falling, and we get like a really cool 80s oh shh, and it like like, there are so many things in this movie that are just like, yes, I wanted that. I wanted one of those in the movie. It looks finished too. Like even some of the CG, like I know it wasn't 100% practical, but there was like CG in Tron that just doesn't look finished.
Yeah.
Like they could have done more with the money. Tron had way more money than this too, didn't it?
I have no idea.
But the first time you see a makeup is Greg here, and
Amy.
Hey.
Is that our Amy? Oh, yay!
Well, thank you for coming. Literally, the first thing you heard was me yelling bullshit. Well, welcome to the show. Yeah. That's basically what the show is. The practical makeups in this are just fantastic. I mean, you get to Greg looks good. There are some moments where you kind of like if you're really paying attention, you see it, but like never once, especially on like the Zandozans, the space bounty hunters, you never once look at those and go, there's a little spot there. They look crazy the whole time. And they have like, and most of the time with like aliens in movies like this, especially like Star Wars ripoffs or what have you. Oh, yay!
Yay! Hi, Amy.
Thank you for coming. Aliens from like Star Wars based, like Star Wars inspired movies like this, you'll have a basic, and most of the aliens you see in the beginning, like eyes, a general mouth. The Zandozan's eyes are like down by its chin, and its mouth is in the middle of its face.
There's all different kinds. There's one that kind of looks like druid-like. They do speak a different language, but the movie does this cool thing where they give Alex like
it's a collar.
Like a collar, and so he's like, oh, you do speak English, and they're like, no, you're hearing us speaking English. So that's how they get away with all those characters.
So Tron had $2 million more to work with.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And Tron looks terrible.
And Tron does not look as good as this movie. Like in some of the, and you don't see very many aliens particularly. What's it called? The Kuridan Empire? Or the Kuridan Armada, the one that Zur has control over. They look, well, there's a picture of them that's been of one of the kinds of them that's been scrolling, but the other kind like doesn't have a mouth. It's like it's a sphincter. They have a sphincter on the bottom of their face. It's like right there, and it's a butthole. But they can't see or breathe without the masks they wear, because you see one get their mask knocked off and its eyes like come out of its head and go like this, and it starts suffocating. But then the other ones, the ones that you see, he looks like he's wearing like a, it'll go, oh, that's the Zandozan right there.
That one, that makeup kind of, I don't know if you've ever seen the Funhouse, Toby Hooper's the Funhouse, or like Hell Night. It kind of reminded me of like those characters. Yeah. Amy says, fun fact, the writer of Last Starfighter went on to make Theodore Rex.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I like Theodore Rex. I do. It's not a good movie, but I like it. It's okay to like a movie.
Maybe we can do that one for another scene again in the future.
Yeah, that's a stay tuned.
Yeah.
Hi. We're getting rated by...
Oh, yeah.
Hello. Dyson's getting jealous that we're not paying attention to him.
Dyson's birthday is tomorrow. He'll be turning 4.
Dyson will be 4 tomorrow. Him's a big boy.
He said, okay, bye.
Yeah, he came through to see what we were doing, and he left it. Where was I? Oh, so you see all the different... Like that. That's one of the evil
Look at
aliens.
that makeup. That's...
Right. And that's like the main one of the Empire.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yay. And they just all look so good, and all the they really tried to make non-humanoid aliens. Whereas if you watch like Star Wars, all the aliens generally just look like people.
this movie has so many little subtle things that make me laugh. Like when Alex first gets there and he's on that like I don't, Gravitron, is that the no, it's like the that Jamiroquai music video,
just like a lateral escalator.
Yeah.
It's just an escalator.
But he's basically on that, and he has to like keep kind of like stepping in place, like asking them like, where am I, like
right.
what are
okay.
these?
So the people are it's like a very military thing where they're just handing him, here's your uniform, here's your this, here's your that, and he still can't, he doesn't have his translator yet. So he's talking to these people and they're just looking at him like he's crazy. She said happy birthday.
Yay,
thank you. And they're just looking at him like he's crazy because he's trying to talk to them and ask them what's going on, and they can't understand him because he doesn't have his translator yet. And it's a very and he's like walking sideways on this escalator because it's just like you would see in an airport, like a lateral escalator, and he's like walking against it to try to. It's a good moment, and this actor really milks. Like he really milks those moments too.
Yeah, Lance Guest. Like I'm surprised he wasn't in more. Like
he should have been. There are so many faces in this.
Yeah, there's still around. Like the last thing I know of him being in was like 2014. There's a werewolf movie called Late Phases.
Oh, I love Late Phases.
It might be on
it's so
Shudder
good.
or Netflix.
I didn't even realize that was him.
Yeah.
Is he the guy with the eye patch? The old guy?
No.
Oh, he's the other guy. Because there's only like 2 people in Late Phases.
There's like the main guy. He's blind. And
that's
then,
what I was thinking.
Ethan Embry is his son.
Okay.
And, so he's in that movie. He's, like, the third character.
Yeah, Nick, it's kind of like a treadmill. I don't know if you've ever been...
Yes!
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever been, like, I don't know if you've ever been to, like, a really big airport, but, like, if you go through, like, O'Hare or Twin Cities, and you're carrying all your stuff, and you gotta go from one side to the other side, there are these lanes of these... treadmill, like, lateral escalators that just, like, you can put all your stuff down and just let it take you to all the way to the other side of the airport. And if he's on one of those,
Yeah.
Okay. There's a dude, there's a lot of gore. When we're talking about the gore, one of the main things I want to bring up.
We were hoping for stuff like that.
That would have been great, because we were looking for it.
Yeah, because I remember reading someone asking David Gordon Green, like, are you going to work Ben Tramer into this, or, like, other people from, like, part 2? But, yeah, that would have been so cool.
Lance Guest would have been a good one. Yeah. Hopefully he's in Halloween Ends. That's a goal. If he's in Halloween Ends.
They'd probably just like kill him off right away or something.
Yeah. What I was getting to was when we talk about the gore of this movie, because there are some moments where you're like, this is a kid's movie. When we first meet Zur, the for some reason British foppish Brit cult leader, him right there.
Yeah. Which. Like, knowing him, like, knowing his character in Manhunter, I never would have thought that was the same person. Like,
is that the...
He's, like, he's one of the agent guys.
Okay.
I can't remember the name, but he wears, like, big glasses. So
he is the son of the leader of what's his name? Krill. The Ambassador Krill, who runs the Starfighter...
Lord Krill?
No, it's not Lord. It's Ambassador.
Oh.
Who runs the Starfighter Legion. And he tells him that he found his master spy, in which we watch a short scene of this man getting a laser in the top of his head and it melting through his face.
I forgot about that. That was another thing. That would have freaked me out.
It goes into the top of his head, and you watch his head cave in, and then you watch his face melt. It's insane.
Yeah.
I just did that, and I realized that now I'm going to have to find a way to fix that when I edit this. I'm like, oh, I'm editing this into audio. Ow. But, like, once you get to, like, the actual story of the space stuff, Alex goes home. We have the meeting between him and the beta unit. That's fun, because it's two Alexes talking to Lewis at the same time, and they're just good scenes. And then you have, what was it? He goes back after the Starfighter Legion has been decimated. So he is the last Starfighter at this point. And it's just him and Grig, and they have to beat the entire Kodan Armada, and it's cool. It is cool, and it works out, and it leaves you feeling really good.
Yeah. So it's like if you're feeling down or something, just look for this movie. And also, the DVD we got was like the 25th anniversary, so that was like
we got it for $5. I couldn't fucking believe it.
But it has some really good special features on it too. Like they have like more like up to date interviews with the cast and interviews with like Nick Castle and stuff, and it's fun. It
is Nick Castle. Well, Nick Castle is actually still the physical face of Michael Myers, isn't he?
The 2018
when
version,
they showed like that much of his face.
Yeah, but in the new one, I don't think so.
No. Do you think it was intentional that Disney cast Lance as an alien and stepsister from Planet Weird?
Oh,
I'm not familiar.
I'm not familiar with that either, but now
that's an interesting hypothesis that we might have to get back to you about.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that was a thing.
Mm-hmm. But I think they've him and Catherine Mary Stewart have like they still do interviews like I think I saw on YouTube earlier that they did like new interviews this year and stuff
about
like
the
that.
Last Starfighter?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Like I think it was like a podcast.
Like I need to be in this movie. If we're making this, if we're truly making a sequel, I need to be in this movie.
It's one of those movies that you watch and not only does it make you feel good, I feel like you feel good because you feel like everyone making the movie had
so much
a
fun
good time
and really loved
making it. And I love when that can just translate
and it shows
into your viewing.
He's about to rip the headphones off the top of the computer.
Dyson, what are you doing? Everyone's telling you happy birthday.
I don't care. And I'll end this segment with a quote, and it's such a cool quote, and Centauri says it, and as soon as I heard it, I was like, fuck, I gotta write that down for the show. And it's when Alex Rogan is back on Earth, and he doesn't want to be a starfighter. He's done with it. It's the craziest thing he'd ever heard. Centauri looks at him and says, if that's what you think you are, that's all you'll ever be.
Yeah.
And he delivers it in this way that you're like, oh my god, it's like almost, it's inspirational.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a very simple plot, but just very enjoyable and entertaining and like kind of profound in ways too.
And it's completely forgotten about, and that's why I feel like it's perfect for this segment.
Yeah.
Like it's the perfect movie to start this segment with.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad that we found it and
I
you
am
told
too.
me about it and we watched it.
I'm glad you liked it. Because I remember when we got it, I picked it up and we bought it, and I was like, I don't remember. And the reason I originally wanted to call this segment Nostalgia Shock is because when we were bringing that movie home, I was like, oh no, I'm going to show her this movie, and if it's bad now, if I was just watching it through little kid eyes, it's going to be kind of embarrassing, you know?
Yeah.
What if I watch it now and I'm like, maybe I should have just kept it in my little kid rose-colored glasses, and then it ended up being better than I remember as a kid, because now there are things I can appreciate.
Yeah, because we watched this, and then there was a time where we were watching more, like we rewatched Masters of the Universe, which I was really scared to do, but I still found that really entertaining.
Willow,
so
we rewatched Willow.
Yeah, that made me very happy.
Like a lot of 80s adventure
Yeah,
movies.
that was one reason we wanted to do a segment like this. And so if any of you have any movies that you loved growing up and maybe you're a little scared to rewatch them and want us to do it.
So here's how we're going to do that. Instead of commenting, instead of typing it in here into the chat, because the chat, once I end the stream, the chat goes away. So what you should do is go to our Facebook page, or go to, when I upload this to YouTube, go to the comment section of that, and write those suggestions in there.
Yeah.
The YouTube section, or the YouTube comment section, once I get this edited and put on YouTube, and go right to the Facebook page and just write to us. Yeah. Maybe here's some suggestions for Seen Again. And our next segment. I didn't do the thing. Where's the thing? I put it down.
It's like right down there.
I'm just going to keep doing this.
You want to do a little bit of movie news first before we move on?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I don't have like a lot of news. If you're into the Criterion collection, something that always comes up when I'm least expecting it is that 50% off sale. And currently, if you go to Barnes & Noble, like in store or off the website, you can get Criterions for 50% off.
But not the Saginaw Barnes & Noble.
Yeah, not around here.
Because they don't have one.
We went there a few weeks ago and we asked them, and they were like, well, we can order them for you.
Well, what's the point of you do it? We could do that for ourselves.
Like, I'd prefer if you actually had the section there and we could, like, browse like I do with records. But, yeah, that sale ends on the 29th of this month. Apparently there is this movie right now getting a lot of buzz called Titane.
Yeah. And I've heard this name a couple times too
It's like a body horror directed by Julia, no, I'm not going to say this right, Ducournau. There was a movie that came out a few years ago called Raw. Kind of about like cannibalism.
Nope.
She directed that, but yeah, she's got this new movie called Titane. It's I've seen a few like TikTok videos of people naming it their favorite movie of the year, and it's been...
Here's the thing. I follow a lot of movie people on TikTok. I do. I don't trust any of them on their opinion. Not a single one. There are a couple, like, especially like people, especially like horror TikTokers, that just don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Amy said, I just got The Incredible Shrinking Man from the B&N Criterion sale. Love my Universal Sci-Fi.
Oh,
I wish I had, like,
and that's one of the
entire
things
collection.
I forgot. That's one of the things I forgot to talk about when we were talking about The Last Starfighter.
What?
Was you get the old school Universal production card first.
Oh, yeah, and it's a, is it Lorimar?
Yeah.
Like, remember
it's
always
WB.
seeing Lorimar?
I just looked it up since we've been on, and it's just WB.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was, they had the rights to The Last Starfighter for so long, and I think in 2020, like, the writer and producer finally got the rights back, so they're able to start working on a sequel.
We still haven't seen Antlers. That's the big one that's on my list right now is Antlers.
Yeah. We did watch The Dead Don't Die finally this week.
That's a thing. If you haven't seen The Dead Don't Die, I'm not going to say run out and see it, but I will say that it's an extremely well-made movie, and I feel like Jim Jarmusch did it for the sake of really...
If you're looking for a typical zombie movie,
that ain't
you're gonna be disappointed. It's very well aware of itself.
Oh, yeah.
Some Dario Argento news.
Dario Argento news.
I guess he has been working on a new movie. The last movie he made was, I don't know how long ago. It was a Dracula movie that I guess was horrible, but he's been working on a new movie called Dark glasses. And he actually stars in a movie. I'm not gonna say this guy's name right either. Gaspar No. He's the director of a movie that came out, like, I think it was the early 2000s, called Irreversible. And he has another movie called Enter the Void, but he made a new movie called Vortex, and Dario Argento stars in it. It's kind of, yeah, like he's in it, and it's kind of like, no one really knows much about it yet, but I guess it's kind of like a documentary style about a couple's last days. Like, it's kind of about facing death.
Oh, a couple's last. I thought you meant as a couple. I was like, well, that's been made 100 times.
Yeah, it stars Dario Argento, so.
Isn't he like 90?
Not that old, but I mean.
Hi, baby.
Yeah, so that's all the news I have for this week.
We didn't really prioritize the news section as much as we probably will in the future, but oh well. Yeah. Not much going on anyway. All right, our next segment. It's a new segment. We're introducing it for the first time tonight, just like our other segment. Mm-hmm. Themes to be heard. Mm-hmm. Where we're going to talk about the lost art of the music video.
Oh yeah. And this was a very popular music video when it came out.
It was, which is funny because it was popular then, and you don't see the hipstery kids listening to it now.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone watching would remember the song, and unfortunately we can't play it.
Lazy Eye?
Yeah.
Oh,
like
no.
Copyright issues.
I guarantee you. Which actually, what I'm going to do, because we go through Anchor, is I'm going to put the song into the podcast. Once I upload it audio, because we use Anchor, we're allowed to use certain songs through Spotify, and I think that's something I'm going to do.
So, yeah, this was a very, like, popular music video, like, on, like, MTV2. Silversun Pickups were, like, this indie band that were becoming more popular, and
the first time the single really took off, it's off their debut album called Carnival, which is a homage and inspired by guitarist Brian Albert's Greek heritage.
2007. That's how.
Out,
oh my gosh!
It came out. Well,
I
it was recorded in 2000.
Was new.
It was recorded in 2006, and there were production errors, so the album actually didn't come out until 2007. The song first garnered like national attention when they performed it. It was chosen by, it was somebody who used to write for David Letterman. And he was like, this is a band you should have on. And David Letterman actually had them perform. They were nobodies, no names. Like, they had like a deal, but nobody really knew who they were. And this writer for Letterman convinced David Letterman to have them perform on there. And that's where especially this song took off.
But yeah, the video, it's, I'll kind of talk about the video first before I talk about the movie that it's clearly based on. But it's like the band is in this club, and there's these like teenagers, and
you can't really tell when. You can't really tell like a date setting. You can't say it's the 70s. You can't say it's 2006. You can't. There's no. It does that blurring of time.
Yeah, and everything is tinted red because of the lights in the club. But it's basically like a love story. You've got this girl, and she's clearly waiting for like her love interest to show up, and he does, and she's kind of like playing hard to get because he wants to approach her, and when he starts to, she's dancing with another guy and talking, and there's
actually a part where when she's dancing with this other guy, they make eye contact, and he smiles and she looks away, and it actually is really powerful for a music video. It's a powerful moment. You're like, oh wow,
and so he leaves, and just over the course of the video, it's like she runs out after him, and then the video ends because they're finally talking and leaving together. But then, so I just always thought it was like a cute music video that went really well with the song. And then, like, I remember, like, 2009, no, 2008, 2009, I was moving around a lot, so I didn't have, like, access to TV, and I was watching a lot of movies on YouTube. Like, I was part of a movie forum community, and, like, oh gosh, he's, like, passed out on the floor. I would just, like, find whatever movies I could on YouTube, and I came across this this movie from the 70s called A Swedish Love Story, and, like, 38 minutes into the movie, I was like, this looks really familiar.
And one of the and it's one of the things that kind of people, we talk about the Japanese and the Italian and the French New Wave. Mm-hmm. Sweden has had films, especially in the New Wave form, that are excellent. Mm-hmm. So let the original Let the Right One In, Swedish Love Story, things like that are in this very, like, realistic style, this very hyper realistic style where it's almost like not ugly to look at, but like you're actually in the room.
But yeah, so it's basically like the same thing, this young love, and then there's this club scene, and I'm like watching it, and I was like, this looks really familiar, and it took me a few years until I rewatched the Lazy Eye video, and I was like, this is obviously inspired by A Swedish Love Story. And I remember, like, trying to Google it and stuff, and I couldn't find anything. And I was like, am I crazy? Or, like, but I have since, like, found, like, stuff. And there's even a person on YouTube that re-edited the video and put scenes, the club scenes from the movie into the video.
But we're also, I mean, it's just funny that you say that you found those things now, but just since we've been talking about this as a subject, because we've actually been talking about this topic for years.
Yeah.
There's been 3 or 4 years where we've talked about this video and this movie in conjunction.
Yeah.
And even back then, there wasn't anything else on the internet about it.
Like, I remember looking up the music video, like, Wikipedia and stuff, and I couldn't find anything. And I was like...
It's not on there.
I was like, did the band know this? Or, like, did the director not tell them, like, hey, I've got this idea for a video, and I'm just going to take it from a movie I saw? But there has been stuff written that the director was inspired by the movie. But I just... when you, like... watch them, like, it's very obvious, like, the lighting and, like, the shots and everything.
Well, especially the red.
Yeah.
There's slight differences, like, in the video, the dance floor is more red lit, and the band is orange lit, and it's reversed in the movie.
Yeah.
But one of the things that always... I mean, when I first saw this video, it seemed older. It seemed much more familiar than a brand new music video that just came out then. And secondly, the drummer who plays, like, this really cool syncopated... Not syncopated, what's it called? Split 4/4, where it's almost driving, and it kind of gives this feeling of, like, anxiety, this feeling of waiting. It almost sounds like a clock, like a metronome.
Yeah.
And the whole time, he is a vibe, because he's just going like this. And, like, he never changes from that the whole video, and it's so, like, you want to see that. Like, he's into it. Brian Aubert, the lead singer and guitar player, he's got, like, a super emotional voice, and he gives this really cool performance.
Yeah.
And then... what's her name? Nikki Moringer, the bass player, has this just dope ass bass. I mean, it's I looked it up. It's an '84 Gibson Thunderbird, and it looks like it should be in an older movie. Like, it's this big-bodied bass.
Yeah, I remember when I first heard of the band, I couldn't help but think of similarities to the Smashing Pumpkins. Not only do both bands begin SP, but you've got, like, the singer, the female bass player.
It's funny you should say that, because when I first heard the Silversun Pickups, I thought of the Pixies. Because they have the keyboard player that plays like almost knobs more than keys. Like he's like playing with weird noises just as much as he's playing actual keys. And like you said, the woman bass player, and when I first saw the video, I was like, oh, this is cool. It's almost like Pixies inspired. So for you to say it's Smashing Pumpkins, that's
But yeah, it's pretty cool. You can find Swedish Love Story on YouTube now, but the version I found today doesn't have subtitles or anything, so that's kind of a bummer. But...
Yeah, how do you find? I mean, we need to figure out.
I don't know how else to find the movie. I don't know if it's on like DVD or anything, but
ooh, what if what if this movie is what's it called, public domain?
Oh, I don't know.
We would have to find it.
Yeah,
we would show that right on the channel. We would watch that with you. Anyway, so that is our first themes to be heard. There wasn't too deep to go into it, but we just thought it was really cool. If you've been looking at our slideshow, it's obvious.
Yeah.
It's blatant.
Yeah.
And then also check out the video. Actually, check out both of their the first two albums are great. Carnival and Swoon are both fantastic albums. They do really cool stuff musically. And I've always loved Brian Albert's voice. Like he has this really intense, emotional voice that I've always thought was super cool. Now let's get into the meat and the potatoes. The reason everybody's here. I gotta find my notes because I lost them.
I don't know. I feel like a good amount of people might have been here for the Last Starfighter too.
Yeah, there was some. Yeah, I'm glad people were here for the Last Starfighter. See, it says we have 4 viewers, but technically I'm 2 of them. So,
because now we're about to talk about a movie that's quite polarizing for our audiences. So, A Swedish Love Story is available on Amazon DVD for $13. Ooh.
We might have.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in like 12 years.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, so do you remember the first time you saw this movie?
Yep.
I do
Hands
too.
down.
I remember when it was coming out. I didn't see it until after it was on DVD. I was living in Arkansas at the time. But I remember like all the hype about it, so I don't think I was excited to watch it.
I saw it way later. I saw it way after it came out though.
Yeah, because I was like, I'm hearing, like, people either love it or hate it, and I'm probably going to be one of the people that, like, hate it, because at that time, like, modern horror movies were...
Well, especially at that time. It was bad because we were just coming out of that thing where even horror movies had to be PG-13. And that era was just awful. You had movies like... what was it called? Baby Doll and
Baby Doll.
Yeah, and Valentine. All the ones where you would get like what were they called? Like almost like CW made horror movies for years. You know what I mean? Like there was that whole even horror movies have to be PG-13, and what's the point? Stay Alive. Movies like that like there's no point in watching a horror movie because it's not. There's no stakes.
Well, I remember, like, at this time, too, I think the Babadook, how do you say, came out, and, I was so disappointed, and so, like, when this one came out, I was like, oh, like, I don't know if I can trust, like, all these people that are raving about it, but, I kind of knew what it was about, but the first time I watched this, I watched it alone, and I watched it at night, and I found it to be unnerving. And then I think I rewatched it the next day, and I started noticing, like, different things. And so I really appreciated this movie. Like, I still think to this day it's probably the most original horror movie that has come out in the last decade. I know there's a lot of people who don't like it because they weren't scared by
like
it.
Jump scared.
There's no jump scares or anything, but there are things about this movie that are unsettling,
and it
to
does
me,
give,
and it was done on purpose by the director, and I don't necessarily watch it now and still get creeped out. Now I just look at it at this different level of filmmaking.
Yes.
And like the themes in it.
This is the exact kind of movie that our show was made for.
Yeah.
It doesn't do the jump scare thing. It doesn't do the bloody kill thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, look at all the gore in this shot. It is this very consistent through line of just dread.
Mm-hmm.
This very, like, you always feel this urgency pulling you through the film, that even though you don't necessarily see anything making you feel that way.
That's what that opening scene, we were like rewatching it today to kind of like refresh, and that
take our notes.
That opening sequence still kind of was like ugh. Like so the
especially
there's
because
gonna be
the camera.
Yeah, so this was directed by David Robert Mitchell. He's only done
It's
one.
his only big release.
Well, he did Under the Silver Lake with that Spider-Man actor.
Andrew Garfield.
Yes. That was the only other thing.
And I knew what you were saying.
Okay, so our movies we've discussed tonight, his second feature was Under the Silver Lake, and in The Last Starfighter, the caves he and his brother used to like play hide and seek in were like the Silver Lake.
Whoa,
caves.
and it's really weird because the name Silversun Pickups comes from the Silver Lake liquor store that they'd go to pick up booze when they were practicing.
We did not
happened?
any of this, but
my god!
When we were watching The Last Starfighter, I noticed that, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of a weird coincidence." But
that's the weirdest thing ever. I didn't even. We didn't do that on purpose?
But yeah, David Robert Mitchell. I'm making sure, because the three names, because earlier I was talking about David Gordon Green. But,
David Robert Mitchell, David Gordon Green.
Yeah. Oh, where is my one note? Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So he did use, for the filming of this, wide-angle lenses because he was inspired by George Romero and John Carpenter. And there is a lot of John Carpenter influence in this, in a scene that we'll get to eventually today.
There's a lot of John Carpenter influence in this, and there's a lot of oh shoot, and there's another director that I had in mind earlier, and I can't think of it right now, especially in this opening scene with the Annie character, where as like the character runs past the camera, and then the camera catches up. Then the character runs out of the camera, and the camera catches up, and you go in this full, it's almost like a 360 all the way, like the camera stays in one spot, and eventually turns all the way back around. And,
so yeah, the opening scene, we get this girl named Annie running out of her house. She's wearing just like her undergarments and high heels. It almost looks like maybe she was playing dress up, or she was getting ready for something, but she's wearing these high heels and she's running in the street and just like
she stopping
and looking at something,
and she stares straight to camera for a long time.
And there's this neighbor that's like, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" And then she goes back, and then
Oh, wait.
Annie's...
Can I just, I am in love with the Disaster Piece score for this film. And in this scene, we get one of the best pieces. It's a leitmotif that actually comes back throughout the film whenever you get these scenes like this. And it's called Heels. And when she first runs out of the house, you don't really hear it as much if you're not paying attention, but it's just this little... And eventually it becomes this, what's it called? It's a minor third chord, and it's doing a step note. So it's a minor third chord step note done on with this really weird, almost like string noise, and it's just meh, 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 and it is awesome. I love this song so much.
Yeah, this is definitely an example where the soundtrack takes the movie to another level. But yeah, so she's in the street, and then you hear her dad follow her outside, and he's like, Annie,
what is wrong with you?
And so she basically just runs in a circle, which goes to show you that this thing is moving slowly, where she can just circle and then run back into her house.
Uh-oh.
So
I'll fix it. Relax.
So she runs back into the house and then comes right back out. She takes off in my car.
It's literally Tara's car.
It's my car.
It is exactly Tara's car, actually.
And then suddenly it's nighttime and she's going to the beach. And this was all filmed in Detroit, Michigan, by the way. But she drives to the beach and the car is there and she's just got the headlights on and she's sitting by the water talking to her dad on the phone like it's going to be their final conversation. And then there's just this shot of her. It shows the car in the distance and then you see the trees and it's just darkness. And it's such an eerie shot because it's like, am I supposed to be seeing something?
A lot of this movie is, am I supposed to be?
It's indicating that something is there, but we can't see it. But just the darkness of that shot is very creepy to me. And then it does get Annie.
When it comes back to her, it's light out. The sun has come up and her neck is broken. Her chin is touching her chest because her neck is broken forward. Yeah. Her one leg is up in the air, like she's laying flat, but her leg is broken so that her foot is up in the air,
backwards. Yeah.
And then her torso is her back is also broken, so her torso is at a weird angle. It's a really it's a gory shot, but it's completely silent, and you're just sitting there staring at her for a good 30 seconds.
Yeah. So what really gets under my skin is the director purposely did things shooting this movie to make you feel like things aren't right. For instance, our main character played by Micah Monroe, her name is Jay, short for Jamie, but she loves to swim, and so we see her swimming in the pool, but you can tell it's autumn. It looks like it's cold outside.
There are a lot of things in this movie, and I know where you're going now. I was like, wait, what are you talking about? But now, okay, there are things in this movie that don't look correct.
And even in other scenes, the characters are wearing coats and warm clothes and stuff, but it's kind of it makes you feel like why is she swimming it's summertime? And there's obviously
the leaves are on the ground.
Leaves, yeah. It looks cold. You don't really know what time period this is. I mean, in that initial scene, Annie is talking on a cell phone. But the cell phone
it's like a flip phone like you would see in 2003.
But then in Jay's bedroom, she has an old TV and she has a landline phone. her friend Yara reads this like clamshell reader that's not real.
It's not a real it's like a makeup compact, but it has 2 screens in it.
Yeah, it looks like it should be like
and we have it in the
iPad or something, but it's obviously not a real device.
Now the reason that may exist in the film is just to get around copyright. So we don't have to show an iPhone, we don't have to show an Android. We can just make this thing up, and then this right here.
Yeah.
And then we can just kind of green screen, which we should have at some point probably paused and read that. But I actually think that...
Well, she was reading The Idiot, she said.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, there's just things like that. Like, I feel like I notice different things about this
literally
movie.
every time.
Every time I see it. Like, Jay, like, she obviously loves being in water. In her bedroom, on her mirror, she has a picture of herself swimming, and there's also a picture of her and her dad. And now that I think about it, like, we're getting kind of like the end sequence just in that shot. We'll get into more of that later, but she's wearing like seashell necklaces. She just
the
loves
dress.
water.
Well, the dress also has like wave, like it's not just like like corduroy stripes. It's every other stripe has like a wave.
But yeah, there's just like no discernible time period, and like even reality just feels kind of off. The classroom scene, on the whiteboards, it even says like fall semester on the whiteboards. Did someone? Oh
no, I was actually looking at that picture you grabbed of them walking outside of the
Redford Theater.
Yeah. Did you see what movie's showing?
Charade. Yeah.
I caught that right now. Oh man, fuck this movie.
So yeah,
that's good.
So Jay is dating this guy named Hugh.
Hugh.
She doesn't really know anything about him because we soon find out that he is lying because he basically needed to find a girl to pass it along to, so he lied about like renting a house and like what school he goes to.
Let me go into our cast real quick before because
okay.
I got some notes on the cast. Micah Monroe, professional kiteboarder. Micah Monroe. She's actually more accredited as a kiteboarder than she is as an actress. Okay. So, has also appeared in 2014's The Guest. That's a personal Tara favorite.
Yeah.
And 2016's Independence Day Resurgence, which I would not wish on my worst enemy.
I have not seen that, and
don't plan on it.
If I will.
We have, and we've already talked about. I took it as a note. Okay, Olivia Lucardi as Yara, who mostly only did independent film. But she does have a main role on one of the seasons of Channel Zero, which is a show that we've been meaning to watch. We've just never really gotten around to it.
Trash?
Yeah.
That's trash?
Independence Day 2.
Oh.
Yep. We don't really plan on it. It's just the note. Jacob Weary, who we have here in the slideshow, playing Hugh/Jeff, which...
Because Jeff is his actual name.
His name is Jeff. He actually has a role in It Chapter 2, the new one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like, I see pictures of that actor, and I feel like I see 5 different actors in
that
his
look
face.
just like him. Yeah,
he's like a mix of
Jacob, or not Jacob. That 90s that we were just talking about him.
A mix of Ewan McGregor, Emil Hirsch, the Thor actor, Chris Hemsworth.
No, he looks more like Liam Hemsworth.
Maybe.
But and then what's his name? Jackson, that we just saw on that Joshua Jackson.
Yeah.
He looks like Joshua Jackson now. But he's but other than It2, the only things that you would see him on is he has like decent TV credits. He has a lot of Law and Order credits, a lot of CSI credits, things like that. He does a lot of network. Kier Gilchrist, who plays Paul, we haven't gotten into Paul yet. He has a main role in the Stanford Prison Experiment, which is the reason he looks so familiar to me.
What's that?
The Stanford Prison Experiment?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Billy Crudup and who's that one actor that's always quippy and he kind of gets under my nerves, but I like him in Perks of Being a Wallflower. Oh God, he played the Flash.
Oh,
Ezra Miller.
Yeah.
Okay, Ezra Miller's in it, and it's the biopic of this actual experiment they did at Stanford University where they split these two groups of students in half, and one half were guards and one half were prisoners, and it absolutely shows. Then they're like, all right, run a prison. It's up to you guys. And it just got insane and people got hurt. And they gave them like this wing of the college to turn into a prison. It got pretty crazy. And
so he's in that.
He's in that movie. Yep. We have Daniel Zavoto as Greg.
Zavato,
Zavato?
I think. Yeah.
Okay. He was in Lady Bird.
Very briefly.
Yep. He's in Don't Breathe.
Yep.
Again, very briefly.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not see this, but I want to, is the Penny Dreadful reboot.
Oh, he was in that movie we watched, Beneath, where those kids are stranded.
Oh, with the giant fish.
Yeah, like the effects of the fish were the only good thing about
that
movie.
Oh, that movie's not... Like, the fish is great. The rest of the movie's not.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's cool. I didn't realize that was him. Oh, he's the kid. He's the kid, the one that gets hung.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Well, our whole show is... If you're watching our show, don't expect us to be like, oh, spoiler alert. We talk about movies. We talk about how things happen. Sorry. Daniel Zavato. He's in the Penny Dreadful reboot, which is something I do want to see him.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Jacob Weary. And as I saw for today, no other cast member other than people we've already talked about has any significant credited roles on IMDb.
Not even the sister?
Nope.
Really?
None of them.
Huh.
Like, this is the only credited role anybody else in this film has.
Huh.
Which really shows how small they kept this production.
Mm-hmm.
It took place in one... Or, like, the production itself took place in one very particular part of Michigan, and there wasn't too much going on around it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not going to get huge effects. There's
Yeah.
no... It really shows what you can do with keeping a production grounded.
So we have this, like, established group of friends already. We have Jay, we have her sister Kelly, and Kelly hangs out with Paul and Yara, and Paul has a crush on Jay.
Mm-hmm.
And then Greg, who's Daniel Zavato, is the neighbor that lives across the street. But basically, we're introduced to them. They're hanging out, and we do see Jay and Kelly's mom, but she's mostly just, like, in the background, not interacting, and she's drinking.
They're almost like latchkey kids. Like, they take care of themselves while mom is at work.
Yeah.
And it's a very... And kids in Michigan, especially in our area, are fully aware of how that works.
Mm-hmm.
I was. Mm-hmm. You were. Mm-hmm. But before that, is the scene that you were talking about of Jay in the pool.
Yeah. And she seems to really be in touch, well, from what I've seen, with nature. Like, there's a scene where she's in the pool and she's looking up, she sees squirrels and birds, and she's just smiling. We do get a lot of scenes of her hands.
There's a lot of, and we haven't really, once we get farther through the dissection of this film, we might actually get more understanding of it, but there are a lot of shots of her, the back of her hands, so like this only it's contrasted with whatever she's touching behind it.
Yeah.
So in this scene, we see her going like this in the water.
Yeah.
And it's a shot away from her, and it's of her hands. And right here is also where we get one of the leitmotifs of music that's actually called Jay. And it's this very comforting, this very peaceful piece of music that I think Disaster Piece did a great job with.
Yeah. And we do get some early conversations about, like, you know, that sense of freedom, daydreaming about freedom, which I feel like once we're able to explain the movie as a whole, it'll make sense, because the ending sequence of that, I think, ties into a lot of that. There's not just the, like, sexual themes of the movie. There's, like, themes of economic hardship and, like, I don't know, feelings of isolation and, like, a fear of like, connection, I guess. But yeah, so Jay and Hugh are on their date. They're at the Redford Theater in Detroit, and this sequence is set up really well. This is also quite creepy. They're waiting in line to get into the theater, and Jay decides to play a game where they observe, like, the other people that are seeing the movie at the theater, and I'll think of 2 people that I would want to trade places with, and you have to guess who they are and why. And so they're playing this. They play it while they're in line, and then even once they're in their seats. And it's Jay's turn to go. And so Hugh is looking around, and he's like, what about that girl in the yellow dress?
The girl in the yellow dress right in the door. She turns around, and, like, the camera turns with her. They show the shot of the door. And you're like, and she goes, who are you talking about?
Yeah, and so he's pointing at the exit, and he's
girl
like,
right
that
there.
girl in the yellow dress, and she's like, are you teasing me? And it's just kind of creepy because we get this lingering shot on the exit, and there's nothing there.
And then when it comes back, like, the face he makes.
Yeah.
Once it dawns on him, he's like smiling, and he's like, he's got his hand on her back, and you literally watch him go, and, like, it just closed down and right in front of camera. It's awesome.
Yeah. So, he basically rushes them out of there, and he's like, oh, I feel better outside. And so their date is over, and then the next scene is just Jay walking down the sidewalk with Kelly, and she's talking about how he was acting weird, and this is where we first see Greg. He's out, like, washing his car, and they're kind of just, like, staring at him, because I guess he's like a dreamboat or something, or I don't know if they used to hang out with him when they were younger, and they just kind of went their separate ways, but Kelly, like, waves to him, and he waves back, and that's, like, pretty much it. And then we get the next scene of Hugh and Jay together, and he drives them out to, like, the woods, and it's, like, this abandoned area, like, if you notice the buildings around there.
It's, like the old industrial area, right on the side of the old logging area, like right on the side of the river. And this is a part of Detroit that you can actually just kind of go to. Like, you could, I bet if we looked hard enough, we could find that spot.
Yeah, but basically this is him realizing he needs to pass it on to her, so they do, like, take it to the next step and get intimate in the back of the car. And then this is another scene where, like, and this is something I wanted to bring up, is he's taking her on dates. He obviously has this actual affinity for her, but also she is the one that suggests going back to the car. It's not like he asks for, he's being intimate, but he's not being aggressive. He has his hand on her leg and they're kissing. She is the one that suggests going back to the car, which is not how I remembered it the first time I watched it. Well, that's, like, the sad thing about it, is I think she has gotten to that place where she feels like she trusts him and is comfortable with him, and then of course they're gonna go to that next step, and then he's just gonna kind of go away. Like, that happens to so many people. But yeah, so it's afterwards, and she's just laying in the back of the car, and this is where we get the first shot of her hand, and she's just reaching out, like touching.
It's a baby's breath.
Yeah.
And she has this very distinct red fingernail polish.
Yeah. And she's talking about how when she was little, she used to daydream about finally getting to the age where she could date, and driving around in cars with her friends and holding hands with a guy, and that sense of being old enough to have freedom, but now that they are old enough, where do they go to experience that freedom?
Yep.
So, like, sexually she's free, but she's, like, still, I guess, like, aren't we all just kind of yearning for more freedom? Like, you wish you didn't have to, like, go to work. You could just get in your car and, like, drive far away. But, and then he comes up from behind her and
chloroforms her.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so this is where he ties her up to a wheelchair, and then he takes her into one of the abandoned buildings, and he's like apologizing to her and starting to warn her about it, telling her like
the rules.
Yeah,
this is where we get the rules.
And she has no idea what's happening. She's freaked out, and he's basically telling her, like, this thing is gonna follow you. Somebody gave it to me, and now I'm giving it to you. And then he also says, sometimes I think it looks like people you love just to hurt you.
It tries to hurt you the most by looking like people you love.
Yeah. And so he's explaining it, and then he's also walking around with a flashlight, like looking around, and then he's like, there it is, I see it.
He's waiting for it. He's trying to show her
Yeah.
what it looks like before he leaves.
Because he needs her to know, because if it's chasing her and it gets her, it's gonna go back to him. So they need to pass it on to as many people as possible.
But once you have it, you can see it, even if you've passed it on to the next person.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to say about this portion, after he chloroforms her and he has her tied to a wheelchair, all the shots are either uncomfortably intimate. They're always almost close-ups, like you're right in the character's personal space, or it's voyeuristic, where you feel like you're watching like you're spying on what's happening.
And she's still just in her undergarments, so she's very vulnerable, and she's tied up and freaked out. And so we see, like, coming towards the building is this naked lady moving very slowly.
It's just
but still kind of like menacing.
And I don't know, and that's one of the things that this movie does well, is this naked woman walking towards the camera, and it's a downhill shot.
But then she looks up.
Right. There's nothing about her actual walk or gait or demeanor that is menacing at all. I believe that what's been explained to us so far, it's what we're thinking as the audience, is what makes that scary.
Yeah, because she doesn't stop moving at all. She just keeps coming, and then eventually she is up on the level that they're at, and Hugh is kind of just leaving her there, waiting for the woman to approach closer, and he's walking around the lady, and he's just waiting. He's like, I need to show you this. And then she gets close enough to Jay where he does finally, like, pull her, and they drive off. And basically then the next shot is
of a hand of old maid cards.
Kelly, Yara, and Paul are at the house, and they're talking about how the mom is sleeping already because she has to wake up at like 5:15. and they're playing cards, and it shows a close-up.
And they're playing Old Maid, like
Yeah.
an old deck. It's not like a deck of what that you would see with like the 51 like numbered cards. It's faces with names on them, and the Old Maid is obviously in the middle of the hand we're seeing.
Yeah.
And the game Old Maid, which younger people may not even know, it's a thing. It's an American game where you get these cards with these faces, and you pick a card from the person to your right's hand. And I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember. Okay. And if you... And at some point you discard a card and you keep going around, and the person left with the Old Maid loses. So there's only one loser. And the point is that you are trying to get the next person to take the bad card away from you, which is the Old Maid. So you are trying to give it away.
Yeah. Oh, and I did forget, Hugh tells her, like, never go into a place that
only has one exit.
So basically they're playing this card game, and they're like, oh, where's Jay? Like, she's out with this new guy, and Paul's like, of course. And they're talking about how pretty Jay is. Oh, and I forgot to mention in the first scene where Jay is swimming in the pool, there are two neighbor boys.
And they're just looking over the fence, like Wilson.
Yeah. And then it happens again in another sequence, too, where the neighbor kid just acts weird and creeps up on the roof to look in the window.
The other thing we didn't talk about is the Yara character. When we first meet the friends, the first thing we see her do is just rip a fart. She says, oh, I have an idea, and then farts really loud, and then says, oh, it left me. So...
But, yeah, so they're playing it, and then you see Hugh's car come up, and he just kind of drops her off, and...
But it's a really crazy way it happens, because you're watching what you would, in real life, you'd see, and you'd be like, what the fuck? If you saw, it's realistic to watch, where he gets out of the car, and then it's all on... He does everything on the opposite side of the car. So he gets out, he opens the door behind his... He basically just pulls her out, drops her on the road.
And he's like, don't let it touch you. And then the characters, the other three are they're very concerned. And they're like, is everything okay?
And he takes off.
He drives off. And then Jay is still just kind of like crouched down in the road. And
she's can face barely, down. She's like this.
She can't really stand up and walk. And then the police... show up, and then Greg and his mom are looking out the window, and Greg's mom is like, those people are such a mess. And then we do see, like, the cops are asking her if it was consensual, and she's saying, like, yeah, and she's telling them about the lady.
This is where we get the second shot of her hands. Because she's sitting...
Yeah, she's
sitting...
clawing at her skin, kind of.
She's, like, sitting against the pole... a pole on her porch, and she has her hands on her knees like this, and I didn't think it was clawing as much as just like she's just squeezing like, very tightly on her knees.
Her thumbs are like
in a weird
inward, and she's just kind of
she's really squeezing on her knees. But again, we get this really, and it's the first time I noticed like the X.
Oh,
tattoo.
She has like a tattoo. Yeah.
She has an X tattoo, and she still has these very distinctly red fingernails. But then the light shining off like the skin of her knees. It's very unsettling the way they keep showing her hands.
Yeah, and then it shows like a shot of the cops at the abandoned place, and they find the wheelchair is still just sitting there, and they find her purse, and then there's just like a quick shot of Jay at the hospital, and then she's back home, and she's not like eating or anything, and then this is where we get the classroom scene, and we're kind of gonna...
There's the really off-putting scene of her in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah. So she's just, like, in her underwear, just staring at herself. She's, like, looking down, like, inspecting her area down below. And then there's a red ball that just hits at the window.
And it scares the shit out of her.
But then there's a lingering shot on the red ball, so it is showing. It's like a lingering shot, but we are seeing what caused
the noise.
Like the noise.
Yeah.
And then she turns on the faucet and she's just drinking the water straight out of the faucet, and then we do get that shot of one of the neighbor kids is like up on the roof and he's just kind of like peering into the bathroom. But yeah, and then this is where we get the classroom scene, and we're kind of gonna end it after this part. But this is very
John Carpenter.
Yeah, this is like straight out of Halloween.
Yes.
Where like Laurie Strode was looking out the classroom window and sees Michael. And what poem is the teacher reciting?
This poem is... Where's my note? Hold on. Oh, T.S. Eliot's The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. Which T.S. Eliot was known for making up words and putting words in orders where they shouldn't actually work, things like that. It's originally written as this dichotomous poem about what a man should do as opposed to what a man really wants to do. It's a question of existential feeling. Like, I know what I should do. I should be working, I should be earning money and marry a house, but I have these inner feelings that there's more. It's these questions between duty and passion. But the first and last lines we hear recited by the teacher are the two most important. The first line we hear is, "I should have been a pair of ragged claws." Which, if you think about what we've been talking about just in this episode so far, we keep seeing her hands. We keep seeing her looking at her hands. And this is referring to someone working for something, really inspecting what they've been doing with their hands and realizing that their hands shouldn't look like that. But that's the first thing we hear, and then I'll talk about the last thing we hear after. Where did I go? Oh yeah.
But yeah, so we're in the class, and then Greg is also in the class, and he keeps looking back at her, and it's hard to tell if he's like genuinely concerned or if he's more just like curious about.
Well,
like
it's
he
almost
can
like
tell something is not right with her.
Yeah.
And so she looks out the window and she sees this old lady just
in like a hospital gown.
I think it was just like a regular nightgown, like a white nightgown, but she's just slowly moving across the campus. It does look like she's wearing like a knee brace or something like that. One thing I thought was kind of funny is Jay, like her mom is present, but like hardly around. And then her dad is clearly not in the picture. So it's like she doesn't really have any like adult guidance. And then the first time she sees this thing coming after her, it's an elderly lady. But it's not like an elderly lady like, oh, I can look up to you for guidance or something. It's this thing that's coming to get her.
Right.
Like it's like old age, like death is coming for you. But yeah, she just keeps looking out the window, and the lady just keeps walking, and there's like two people sitting on a blanket, and she kind of just walks through the blanket.
She walks through the blanket, and the shot is made so that it is these two people obviously like having a picnic, and I feel like the choreography of the shot is way more in depth than you expect, because when she does walk, her right foot or her left foot stops right before some things on the blanket, and then her foot goes through the stuff and lands right on the other side of the stuff. And it's shot so that she's like not really interacting with the world around her, but it's moving in a way that is just around her.
And the closer she gets to the school, and I think, like, right when she's really close to the school, the teacher is still reciting the poem, and she says, "To say I am Lazarus, come from the dead, come back to tell you all, I shall tell you all." And then she goes into the part about...
Yeah. I am Lazarus, come from the dead. Come back to tell you all. I shall tell you all. If one settling a pillow by her head should say, that is not what I meant at all. That is not it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Which I feel is like this, again, we're talking about the comfort, but also the freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the freedom to just settle your head on a pillow? And at this point, Jay does not. She has to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And again, once the elderly lady gets close enough, we get the heels leitmotif again.
Mm-hmm.
That very discordant burp, 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 burp. And then she gathers her things and runs out of the room. She
freaks out and leaves the room, and then she's walking through the hallway, kind of looking around to see where this old lady's gonna come from, and there's two girls standing there, and she just walks in between them, and you see them notice her, but then they go back to their conversation. She's continuing to walk down the hall, and the camera's on her, and then in the background you see the old lady turn the corner, and she walks right through the girls, but they don't see her.
And she says, doesn't she say, "What do you want?"
No, so she turns around, and this is when Jay sees the old lady, and she's not stopping, and she's like, "Hello?" And then one of the girls just kind of looks
and she goes,
"Hello?"
Yeah, she says hello, and one of the girls having the conversation goes, she's like, "Hi." Like, yeah. It's like a, what?
Because they don't see the old lady,
they don't see the old
lady.
She
just keeps coming, and so Jay just turns and busts out the door, and then this is where we're gonna...
Well, and I wanted to come back to that original line, because we talked about as I should have had ragged claws.
Mm-hmm.
That is in reference, that main line we hear is in reference to the narrator of the poem wondering if he or she should have been a crab. Solitary creatures who hide away from the world, even other crabs. So should I have steeled myself away and not done what I did? Mm-hmm. It becomes this question of, do we protect ourselves by not opening up like that?
Mm-hmm.
But then what's the downsides to that? Then you're what? You're a hermit crab. Mm-hmm. And so this just the tiny things in this film that you see every new time, and especially like the way we do our studying on the depth of these films. It's already made this one better, and we're only a half hour in.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where we're gonna leave it off tonight, and then...
You know what I realized we didn't do last week?
What?
Our sign-off.
Oh.
We didn't do it at all. We have a sign-off that we did for a whole year when we originally did the show, and then we forgot to do it on the first episode of Season 2.
So yeah, next week we'll discuss more of It Follows, and then we'll do a few other...
We have a new...
random things.
Well, not random things. We have a new Scene Again.
Oh, yeah.
And a new Themes to Be Heard.
Yeah.
And maybe some news. But it seems like movie news is few and far in between lately. So, what do you want to tell them what our stuff's going to be?
Not yet. It'll be a surprise.
Surprise! Yay.
But yeah. I hope you enjoyed this episode today.
Wherever you watch. If you like this, or if you enjoyed this, like it, subscribe, share it, email us, themestobeseen@gmail.com. We have a Facebook page, YouTube, Twitch. We have a TikTok now.
Oh, yeah.
You can find our podcast on Spotify now. We're all over the place. We're worldwide now.
If there are any movies that you want us to watch and talk about, let us know.
If you have suggestions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Suggestions for the main show, even though we have those for this season picked out. themes to be heard. Maybe we haven't thought of some really cool music videos. That's the one that
Yeah.
we would love suggestions on potentially significant music videos, because we thought of a few, but they're all kind of low-hanging fruit.
Mm-hmm.
They're all kind of easy. But I think that'll do it for our show tonight. That's 2 hours that I'm gonna have to go through and edit. So
Yeah. Well, I hope everyone has a sparkling week.
yeah,
I think I'm gonna keep that as
a sign off. Oh, great!
and my
Otis would be happy.
typical think pink.
Yeah, and adopt, don't shop. Thank you very